Welcome back to another episode of the Retro Craptacular podcast, where each month we continue our search for the best bad movies on the planet Earth. I am your host, Aaron, and I am joined, as always, by my boo, Matt.
Oh, I love it. Hey, boo.
It's Valentine's Day.
It's Valentine's.
Well, I mean, it was like 2 days ago, but hey.
It's Valentine's adjacent. Good enough for me.
It is the Valentine.
It is the Valentine.
And I mean, really, why do we...
Care?
Nope. No.
Oh.
Well,
Uh-oh.
I was going to say, why do we select only one day of the year to celebrate love, but...
That's
better. But yeah, also, why do we care?
Yeah.
Whatever. It's Hallmark,
I mean, like, it's
Hallmark holiday.
It's a birthday. It's a birthday. It's the birthday of Saint Valentine, right?
Cupid.
Oh.
No?
It was when Cupid was born.
Yeah.
But honestly...
Because he's a baby.
Yeah, but, like, it was still a long time after Cupid's birth that they started actually training in archery. So I don't know why this day is so important.
I don't know either. Also, there was a massacre.
We don't need to get into that, though.
No.
Oh, baby.
Anyway,
Hey, boo, let's start over. That was... How's it going? How are you doing?
Good, so good. Watch movies, talk about it.
That's our jam.
It's what I do.
Here we are.
Did you watch that Lord of the Rings trailer?
I did.
Looks fine, doesn't it?
It looks like a show that I'm gonna watch,
Yeah.
regardless of what happens.
I don't know why people are shitting on it. I'm like, I looked at it and I'm like, that looks fucking expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people love shitting on things.
Oh, totally. But it's also like they spent like $30 million an episode on that shit. So like,
Ooh, an episode.
it's the most expensive show of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, they spent $250 million just to get the rights, and then they committed to a 5-season thing.
5 seasons?
5-season commitment.
Wow.
At about $250 a season.
Wow.
And there's not going to be more than 10 episodes. So it's like $25-30 million an episode.
Shit.
Yeah. I mean, that'll obviously get scaled to like when they do bigger episodes. More
Naturally,
budget will be
yeah,
over there
naturally.
and less. But it's like you get fucking... There's like feature film budget stuff, you know?
I mean, Lord of the Rings is a huge IP.
Yeah.
If someone's gonna dive in and do a show about it, they're gonna try to do it right, which is great.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I've seen a lot of people shitting on it, and we can talk about the fact that there's black elves in it, but I feel like we don't need to.
It never even crossed my mind.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's one of the main... I mean, that's like it's the same people that were complaining about the Black Stormtrooper.
I was just about to say. It was yeah.
But then the other thing is, I've seen a lot of people being like, this looks like crap. This looks so cheap. And I'm like,
Oh, no.
how? No.
No, it doesn't.
It looks very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
It looks and was very expensive.
yeah, totally. So I'm excited for it, man. I think.
Sweet.
Well, the other thing that a lot of people complain about is that the dwarf queen doesn't have a beard.
Oh, you know what? I do love to see female dwarves with beards. Honestly, it just makes sense. It looks right to me, and it's so rare. Actually,
Yeah.
once. I think I've only seen it once. It was briefly, but I saw it, and it made me so happy. It was in Netflix's The Witcher.
Oh, okay. I never finished The Witcher.
We see a female dwarf. She's got a beard. She looks great.
Nice.
And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome.
That's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, they're doing, they're going way back in time. They're doing the first age.
Is it the first age or the second age?
Well, so I think they're going to start with the first age.
That's a good place to
My
start.
Tolkien lore, yeah. I mean, technically they started with the third age and now they're going back, so.
Oh, some.
They're George Lucasing it.
I was yeah, you beat me to it.
But my Tolkien lore is a little messy and hazy because it's dense and not a fun read.
Hey, that's legit. I never touched the Simmer.
I have tried
the salamander
several times, and I never make it more than like 30 pages in before I'm like, fuck, this is just like reading a textbook.
Yep.
It's not fun. So
that's what I've heard.
Tolkien fans are screaming into their iPods right now at me, but basically what I understand is they're going to try and condense that book into the first 2 episodes, which are going to be about 90 minutes apiece.
Okay.
So the first 3 hours of the show is just the Silmarillion.
So wait, is this show like setting up the entire world of Middle Earth?
Kinda. Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
And I mean, like, from the Silmarillion, I know, like, other books have, like, spun out of that. Like, the Fall of Gondolin is talked about in the Silmarillion, but then I believe has also been expanded into a novel of its own by Christopher Tolkien.
Cool.
So, this, yeah, I don't know, man. They got a shit ton of stuff to go off of.
Yeah, legit. It's a big world, and we honestly haven't had that much from it as far as, movies and TV shows go.
Yeah, but like I don't know, like I was a big fan of like the Lord of the Rings movies. I don't I don't read the books very like I've read them. I've read The Hobbit more than I've read Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I've read The Hobbit so many times.
Yeah, I love The Hobbit. So I don't like, I'm not like precious.
Same.
Precious about Lord of the Rings to the way I am with something like Star Wars, which we'll get into. So I'm excited to like see where they take it.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things for me where I'm also excited to watch the show. I'm gonna watch it all the way through regardless. If I get to the end and I think that
unless it's like fucking bad, like it could be really boring.
Well, sure, maybe, but
I don't know.
Typically, if I decide to watch a show, even if it's bad, I'll go all the way to the end of it. We just talked about Cowboy Bebop before we started recording.
Life is too short for that, man.
Nah, I don't sleep a lot.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but if I get to the end of Lord of the Rings show and it was bad, then I'll be like, nah, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be broken up about it.
But will you show up for season 2? Because remember, there's going to be 5.
Oh, yeah, you just said. Well, I haven't thought that far ahead, and I'm okay with that.
I guess it depends on how bad it was.
I will say I already hate the title.
The Rings of Power?
Yeah.
Really?
Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power does not sit well with me.
I guess so. I mean, I look at it as like, to draw from another literary classic series that has been adapted into feature films, the Twilight Saga.
Oh.
No one refers to the movies as the Twilight Saga New Moon, the Twilight Saga Eclipse. You just say New Moon, Eclipse. So I'm just thinking like they've got to put the brand on it so that mouth breathers know, oh, that's the Lord of the I know that. So that they know it, and then they call it Rings of Power. No one's going to call it. They're just going to call it the Rings of Power.
Okay.
To pull from another literary the Hunger Game. No. But they had to do that, right? They can't just call it, even though it's like, New York Times best-selling book, they can't just call it Catching Fire. It's like The Hunger Games Catching Fire, so that there can be no doubt.
Yeah, sure, but The Hunger Games Catching Fire sounds like a fine title. Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power does not. There's only one word in the show title that is different from the book title, and maybe it's unreasonable, but it just feels weird. And also, when I hear The Rings of Power, I don't think of Lord of the Rings. I think of Shang-Chi, and then I think of Power Rangers. I don't know why exactly. Maybe I just love Power Rangers, but I just the title. I feel like it's
I didn't come up against that at all. I mean, I get it. Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, ring a ding ding.
Yeah, so that's just a little thing that doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but it's just I just don't like it. I just don't like it.
No, fair enough.
But maybe the show will be great.
Maybe it'll be good. I don't know.
Time will tell. When does it come out again? Like September?
September 2nd. Yeah.
Just in time for people that gotta go to school.
Yeah.
I'll be them.
Laughing at all the children walking past my house to go to the middle school, and I'll be like, "You idiots! I'm watching Lord of the Rings right now. You all have to wait till you get home, and I'm watching it right now."
And they will tell their parents.
Yeah, like, I don't feel safe. Yeah. There's a man in a bathrobe yelling at me.
You live right by a school, dude. You should chill.
Yeah. There are times where like I have to let the dog out in the morning, and I'm just like in my underwear, and I'm like, I should maybe get a robe or something, because I can see the school from my back door. Like, yeah. And if there was like kids showing up early for something, they would just see me with my titties hanging out. Like,
Well, good morning to them.
Yeah.
You're good.
I think I'm fine. Nobody's filed a complaint yet that I know
Not yet.
about.
You're good so
Yeah.
far.
But anyways, this is going a weird place right off the bat.
Yeah, I'm just gonna back up for a sec. I'm just gonna take off my sweater because
I'm actually gonna take off my sweater too. It's kind of warm in here.
yeah, for real, it gets toasty in here quick.
It's all these hot takes I'm dropping.
Oh,
So we should probably talk about Boba Fett.
I mean, I almost feel like we could do a separate episode. Like we could do an entire Patreon exclusive.
Yeah, I got shit to say. Let's just, for the sake of the people listening at home, general thoughts, real quick, and then let's dive in.
Okay, so general thoughts is bad.
Yeah,
It's bad. It was bad. I didn't like it.
at all.
It was bad.
Okay.
I liked one episode a bit. It was the episode of The Mandalorian.
Oh, okay.
Because it showed the character of the Mandalorian having some dynamics in his character arc.
Well, okay, so I have thoughts on that. I sort of agree with the Mandalorian episode. I think, like, as an episode of The Mandalorian, it's okay. But, like, I think if that was episode 1 of season 3, people would have been like, are you fucking kidding? Like, we saw him, like, training with the armorer for, like, 10 minutes, and then he spent the rest of the episode just, like, building his spaceship? Like, and, like, we saw him, like, catch a flight? And they spent so much time on him catching a flight? Like, what? I felt there was a lot of fat in that episode that could have been trimmed.
For sure, but it was still a nice break from the Book of Boba Fett.
So if you want to hear the rest of our thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett and the future of Star Wars, you can head over to our Patreon, and that will be on the $3 tier as a bonus episode. Yeah, lots to unpack there.
Indeed.
But you know what?
We're gone for 3 weeks and the suitcase is full.
Oh boy, is it ever. But now we're here to do what we came here to do, which is talk about our film for this month, which is appropriately called Valentine.
He loves me.
Spend this Valentine's Day
He loves me not.
with someone you love,
He loves me.
someone you trust,
He loves me not.
and someone you know
He loves me.
won't try to kill you.
Will you dance with me? Dance with me? Dance with me?
Remember the kid everybody ignored on Valentine's Day?
Loser.
Well, he remembers you.
God, we were so horrible to that kid. What do you think happened to him?
Aw, it's so sweet.
So sweet and loving.
So nice.
And murder.
murder.
So this was a first-time watch for both of us.
Yeah.
Neither of us, I don't think, had ever heard of this film.
Never heard of it.
A
A lot of recognizable actors.
lot of recognizable actors, and that's kind of why I picked it up. I found it on the shelf at the secondhand store, and I went like, oh, Denise Richards and David Boreanaz and Marley Shelton and Katherine Heigl. Like, this is a craptacular movie just based on the cover of the DVD.
Yep.
So I was super excited to pick it up for that reason. And then, we popped it in, and it was actually kind of good.
Yeah, but so
Like, not terrible.
yeah, like
Um,
how do we? Was it about? What was it? What was it about really?
so
Like,
yeah,
Could you say it in one sentence?
could I? Oh, you want the elevator pitch? Okay. A group of friends are haunted by their past when they start receiving threatening Valentines related cards from someone who they used to bully.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's
I like it.
It's a bit unclear throughout the movie who like the lead character is at times.
Yeah.
Because it kind of, you focus on the friend group, so it is a bit of an ensemble, but it's from that early, I think it's from 2001 is when this came out. And
Oh, good year.
yeah, 2001. It was all right. Beginning of the new century. It was directed by a guy named Jamie Blanks, who is probably best known for directing Urban Legend with Tara Reid. It came out in 1998. It was another sort of attempt at keeping the slasher genre alive. That kind of was perfected, birthed, and died in the 80s.
Yeah,
I think we can.
Yeah, that's fair.
When I think of the slasher genre, it's like it is an 80s thing, right? Like it's like in terms of like the cinema landscape of the 80s, it's like so important to it, right? Because it's like Halloween comes out in 1978.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Cunningham says, I bet you I could rip that off. Puts out Friday the 13th in 1980, and then everyone goes like, oh, you can just do that? You can just do that? You can just rip it off and no one will stop you? You can make it for $500,000 and take home like $70 million? What the fuck are we doing? We can make 1,000 of these. And then there's just like...
And then they did.
So many slasher movies came out in the 80s.
Yep.
Like so many that like there's probably like as many lost slasher movies from the 80s that will never be seen again outside of like a dusty old VHS tape at the back of some mom and pop shop in like, fucking buttfuck nowhere, Connecticut. Like there's probably as many of those as there are like lost films from the silent era. Like films that literally the only known copy of them like combusted because it was nitrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I think of like the slasher movies from the 90s, especially like Urban Legend, like comes out after Scream. And like you watch it with that
Scream era.
Yeah, like Scream kind of went like, oh, okay, this is the genre. Let me show you all the flaws. Let's turn it upside down, and you can come backstage and you can see how the sausage is made, and it like made watching movies through a lens of like cliches and tropes like mainstream.
Yeah.
And so like suddenly everything is meta.
Right.
And when you watch Valentine and when you watch Urban Legend, there's none of that.
Yep.
Right? Like it's played totally straight. And I will say, I think actually I watched Urban Legend not that long ago. I don't know why.
Okay.
I think I was browsing Netflix around Christmas time because I had
looking for that Christmas slasher flick.
I had like I was like I could watch Black Christmas, I guess, but like I had no work because freelancing dies around the holidays. It doesn't pick up till like the end of January. So I was like, I got a lot of fucking free time. And a browse, and I had a partner have a partner that works retail. So she's out of the house.
Right.
Because it's Christmas time, so she's working a lot. And I'm sitting here going like, I got 8 hours to kill. The dog's asleep. I guess I could just like, so I go on Netflix and find some shit to watch. And I think I actually like Valentine more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it wasn't worse.
No. I think it's actually... I think the kills are a little more interesting in Urban Legend because they kind of come off like they're all kind of based around an urban legend, like like the Hook Man, or like the kids are like making out in the car, and then there's a killer who escaped from a mental asylum. He's got a hook, and
classic.
She can hear tapping on the roof, and it's his feet hitting the roof as he's been hung from the tree that they're parked under, and like stuff like that, right? So like the opening scene of Urban Legend is actually pretty good, where it's like a woman driving. She pulls into a gas station, and Brad Dourif is the gas station attendant, and he's like kind of creepy. And she's like, Miss, can you come inside? There's a problem with your credit card. They want to speak to you on the phone. And he's trying to get her inside. And you're like, oh my God, like, is he like gonna fucking kill her or something? And she freaks out, she picks up the phone and there's no one on the end of the line. And she's like, oh my God. And she freaks out and she runs away and gets in the car, and he like runs. He's like, no, wait. And as she's driving away, he's like, there's someone in the back seat. And then you just see like the killer pop up with like an axe and like chop her head off, and it goes like through the passenger or through the driver window, and it's like, yeah, that's a good opening. And the rest of the movie kind of sucks, but
oh well,
yeah,
at least they started strong.
I think the kills in Valentine are not as inventive.
Yeah.
But I think I liked the overall like whodunit aspect of it.
That's true. There was more mystery than I thought.
Yeah,
It would be.
it was more satisfying than the reveal in Urban Legend, because like you get to the end of Urban Legend and it's just kind of like, oh, it's that. Oh, okay, that's stupid.
Nice. All right, so Valentine
Valentine.
has a very different opening scene.
Yeah,
Where it's like a no, not high school. It's middle school.
it's like middle school. Yeah,
It's a middle school dance.
I think they say later in the movie that kid from 6th grade.
Yeah, that's right.
So these kids are like 11.
6th grade dance,
Yeah,
and there's some kid, in a button-up shirt, just tucked into his khakis, and he's wearing glasses, and he's a little buck-toothed.
his little center part.
Mm-hmm. And he's asking girls to dance with him.
Yeah.
And they do not want to.
No, they
And
really don't. Some of them are
harsh about it.
very mean about it. And you can see like in between all the scenes of him asking, there like cuts to like his yearbook and he's like circled their photo and drawn hearts around them and been like, Paige, I love you. Kate, I love you.
Yeah, in the real stalkery way.
Yeah,
It's all very creepy.
it is a little creepy.
And so, yeah, so it's clear like this kid is pretty
Yeah.
intense. But then he goes up to one girl who's on the bleachers and asks her, and she's like hesitant, but then also she's all alone, and so then they
because
hold
she's the
hands.
chubby one.
Right, they say that she was not chubby. Like I was really confused about that.
I mean, she's like chubbier than the other ones,
Okay,
right?
well, yeah, she wasn't scrawny.
No, she wasn't. And so, they play it off as like, oh, I guess he'll go for the fat girl because she has lower self-esteem because of she's fat.
Yeah, she wasn't, and I hated it. But asks her to dance, and then, she kind of smiles a bit, and I was like, oh, okay, well, they're going to dance together. Wrong. No, they're going to immediately go under the bleachers and start making out.
Yeah.
Because it's 6th grade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, make it 8th grade.
Sorry?
Like, make it 8th grade.
Yeah. What the
Yeah.
fuck? I mean, not that there was a very big difference for me between 6 and 8, but anyway.
No, but like that 2 years, I think, makes a lot of difference. A lot of people start hitting puberty around then.
Yeah, at least in this context, it would have
Yeah.
felt a little bit better. But anyway, they're making out, and then a bunch of little 6-year-old bastards, and 6-year-olds, they're mean. They are. Look it up.
Well, they're not 6-year-olds.
Sorry, I meant 6th graders. Wow, no, 6-year-olds can be quite sweet.
Yeah.
I've learned. But yeah, a bunch of 6th grade boys like climb up onto the bleachers and peer down and start like jeering.
Yeah.
And the girl immediately realizes like, okay, this dude is the butt of this joke. If I want to get out of this with my dignity, I need to throw him under the bus.
Yeah.
And they start being like, oh, is this perv like attacking you or something? And she's like, yeah, this perv, he just attacked me.
Yeah.
And just like, yeah, fully throws him under the bus. And then these bullies dump punch on him, strip him of his clothes,
Yeah.
and like throw him into the dance floor. And I'm like, where are the chaperones?
Yeah.
What kind of 6th grade nonsense is this?
They should have at least shown like one of the parents like getting drunk off of like, like a little flask or something in the corner.
Sure, yeah. At least if they had shown negligence, then it would have been intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, and then that's the end of that scene.
Yeah.
It was very bad. And then we are
immediately
13 years later.
Yeah, it immediately cuts to a very creepy dude on a date with Katherine Heigl, and like I think you're supposed to assume that like, oh, this is that guy grown up,
Yep.
because he's definitely a creep.
It's immediately what I thought.
Spinach in his teeth.
Talking about why people are attracted to each other.
Yeah, referring to himself in the third person all the time.
Yes.
And then
Looked like a real bad date, basically.
yeah,
But also it was a little confusing because this opening scene was all about the kid
yeah,
who got bullied. And then we cut to 13 years later, and we see a guy, and we think that he's the kid.
Yeah.
And so up until this point, I'm still thinking that kid is the main character of this movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think it's done as an intentional red herring because he's got the same initials. You find out later, right? His name's like Jason Marquette, and the person that they're looking for is
Justin
Melnick. I can't remember.
I don't know.
I could look it up, but why?
Doesn't matter. Same initials.
Same initials. JM, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a bit of a red herring, to like fake you out, right? And then it goes to, he wants to take her home, and she's like, this has been a terrible date. I have no interest in you.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go. Let's get the check. And then he gets the check, and he's like, "Ooh, so let me see. You had the salmon and the crab cakes, and I had this in the salad. So And she's like, "Ugh, fine. You want to split the check because I'm not gonna go home and sleep with you."
Mm-hmm.
Which is why ladies always dump a guy after he's paid. Okay, if the date's going horrible, flirt with them long enough to make sure he pays the check, and then get in the cab and go home.
I was thinking more just like leave faster, but
Oh yeah, you could also do that too.
yeah,
I had a wonderful time. See you later, Jason. Bye, and just fuck off.
Yeah.
Get your Uber app out.
Always have an exit strategy.
Get, order an Uber. And then just like, as soon as you see like the Uber's like 1 minute away, you're like, you know what? This isn't working out. I'm going to fuck off. Bye. And then get the fuck out and then leave him with the check.
Yeah.
That's how you do that. Overall, that guy doesn't really have anything to do with the rest of the movie. There's in one other scene.
He doesn't. And so then, yeah, it's the girl in this scene who we don't know who she is.
Yeah. She's one of the girls from the opening scene, grown up.
Yeah, at some point I started to assume that. It was never clear.
Yeah.
I guess like when he asks the girls to dance, he says their names. I didn't immediately memorize them.
No.
So this girl had
Shelley?
Yeah, one of the names. I don't remember any of them.
Something like that. I remember Denise Richards was Paige, and Marley Shelton was Kate.
Oh, wow.
And what was the chubby girl's name?
Tino.
No.
Gertrude.
It was Gertie. Yeah. No. It's Dorothy.
Aloysius. Okay.
Dorothy, because in one scene Kate keeps calling her Dorothy.
Doroth.
Yeah.
Which is a fun pet name for anyone named Dorothy.
Yeah. Door is right there. Door. Dodo.
Dodo.
Like
Doroth.
It's just one more syllable. Just keep going.
Doroth.
Dorothy.
It's another syllable that's even on the way out. Dorothy.
Yeah.
Is just as much work as Doroth. Because you have to work to stop yourself.
Yeah, I think it's more work.
Yeah.
To say Dorth.
That's besides the point.
That is besides the point. The writing's real weird at some points.
Yeah.
And then I think there's one called like Lily or Tina or something like that, or Lucy. She's the one that gets bow and arrowed. And then Denise Richards, like, she's out of town. And we're
right.
like, she?
That was all very confusing. But anyway, let's back up. Like, we had the opening scene, the awkward date, and then she's like, I got finals. Bye. And then she goes to the morgue or hospital or whatever. She's working on a cadaver.
Yeah, it's probably like the university lab.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't
morgue, something, yeah.
Yeah. But honestly, that date was so bad that she would rather hang out with a corpse.
Yeah.
Although that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But then she hears a noise. She goes to investigate and bumps into what apparently is like another classmate. They seem like they know each other. Like, good luck tomorrow, I guess, finals and stuff. Also, don't go on a date the night before your final. Like, that's a bad call.
Yeah.
Anyway, she goes back and she's okay, I'm gonna cut into this guy now, and then the guy breathes on the table, and she's like, what? And then she jumps back, and then she hits the closet, and then the face of the cadaver is in the closet, and she opens the closet, and the cadaver that she was supposed to be working on falls out, and she looks back at the table, and there's no one there.
Yeah.
So the killer came in, moved the corpse into a closet, undressed completely, and got on the table, covering himself, all except for his stomach, so that she could hold a scalpel to his stomach and he could scare her. That was a really risky scare tactic.
Yeah, oh, totally.
Like, you can't see. His face was covered.
Yeah.
If he hadn't taken a deep breath, at that exact moment, he could have had a scalpel in his gut.
Yeah, and like, is he feeling the blade start to touch him? And that's when he's like, like, I don't know.
It was...
I think it happens before, but maybe not. I'd have to go back and look.
But
I won't.
also don't.
Anyway,
yeah. And then she's like, obviously very reasonably freaked out. And
yeah.
she's got a scalpel, and she's, the tension's rising, and she's kind of looking around, and then she gets grabbed from behind some
she goes
curtains.
to, like, look around, and at this point, I guess he ran off and put on his trench coat and his boots and his Cupid mask and got his knife.
Yeah.
And, comes out of the curtains behind her and grabs her, and she freaks out and
stabs him with the scalpel and gets away at first.
Gets away, yeah.
And then he just kind of, like, walks out of the room after her.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, I guess there he is.
Yeah, it's a very underwhelming reveal shot of the killer, because, like, you don't really see him in the, when he comes up from behind the curtain, you don't see his face at all. You don't see the mask, and, like, he's got this Cupid mask, which, like, you saw in the beginning at the dance. There was a couple people that had the Cupid mask on, I guess.
I only saw one person, and it was really out of place.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was one person or if it was, like, multiple people in different shots, or if it was supposed to be the same person, but...
I don't think so. Like, the kid gets thrown naked onto the dance floor by the bullies.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of people, like, look, and one of those people is wearing a mask. And I was like, why the fuck is that kid wearing a mask?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's never answered. But then, yeah, this person's wearing the mask. That's all I got.
So... anyways, she has the brilliant idea to hide in a body bag.
Yeah, and, like, she runs into a room. It's where all these dead bodies are. She's cornered herself, so she hides in a body bag. And then the killer comes in. And then I think I even said out loud, like, okay, so he's just going to look in every bag until he finds her and then kill her.
Yeah.
There was no tension in that scene. He, like, starts opening some bags and then just starts stabbing some, and then he gets to the very last one.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, the only way this scene is going to be good is if she's not in there and she's found a smart place to hide. But she's in there, and then he cuts her throat. Yeah. And then he closes the bag. Yeah. And that was the end of the scene. And I was like, it was bad.
It was bad. Yeah. So that wasn't great. The next kill, I think, is probably the most interesting kill in the movie. It has the most interesting set piece where after the funeral, they meet a cop who's like, hey, have you ever heard of a Jason Marquez or Marquette or whatever? I'm like, no, I've never heard of him. And they're like, all right, well, our friend is dead. Let's celebrate by going to this art exhibition opening that one of the other girls is putting on or is dating the guy whose art it is.
That one.
I couldn't tell if she was involved in it or not.
I don't think so.
But anyways, so...
And at this point, at least, it's clear, like, oh, okay, so all of the characters of this movie are actually the girls who rejected this kid at the dance. Yeah. It hadn't been clear for me until they were all there at the funeral.
One of them gets a Valentine's... Oh, in the opening scene, or I guess second scene, she finds a Valentine's Day card stuck to, like, a pin board with her name on it. It says Shelly, and then she opens it up, and there's, like, a threatening message about, like, I'm gonna stab you to death.
Yeah, it was something like, roses are red, violets are blue, I'm gonna slit your throat. I don't remember exactly how it goes.
Well, the one that I remember was not that one. The next one was roses are red, violets are blue. They'll need dental records to identify you.
Oh, that's right. That was a fun one.
And she's like, that's creepy. Oh, well, let's go to this party.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's creepy. And my friend just died, and the last person she was with is missing. I guess I'll not report that to the police. Which is like, I get not trusting the police, but having no alarm at all about the situation was dumb.
Real stupid. And also, it was the 90s / early 2000s. People trusted the police back then.
I guess.
At least white people did.
There you go.
And this movie's pretty white.
Very, very.
I'd say, like, almost exclusively white.
It seemed like it.
It's like the one, like, Latinx housekeeper.
Yeah, just a housekeeper. At least they made her very, like, disapproving of being bossed around.
Oh, and the, like, Vietnamese mail order bride that's in the one scene.
Right, who is just a tragically bitchy character.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then What the fuck even happens next?
At
This point, we know that they're gonna die one at a time.
Yeah,
That's obvious.
They go to the art exhibition, and
Right, it is a maze of television screens that like have body parts on them, and there's a lot of
like,
mouths
close-ups of
talking.
mouths being like, "What do you do for fun? Love me."
Yeah, and it's supposed
Touch
to be like,
me.
what even is Valentine's? And it's supposed to like some weird, I don't know.
But then there's just shot.
Postmodern
Yeah, but then there's just
bullshit.
videos of like girls taking their bras off.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that, and whatever.
Art. So they're going through the maze.
It's
and
weird, yeah.
They get separated in the maze, I guess.
They get separated in the maze. Well, she sneaks off with the artist, Lily or whatever her name is. Sneaks off with the artist, and they're like making out. And then this other random girl shows up and starts like unbuttoning her blouse, watching them make out, and she like sees that, and she's like, "Oh, who is that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's Tiffany. I invited her to come join us." And she's like, "Oh, you're such a sleazebag." And he's like, "Yeah, but you knew that." I guess he was gonna try to get them to have a menage a trois
in his art gallery.
in his art gallery.
Some straight narcissism right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. But she wasn't down. Which, yeah.
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, I didn't sign up for this."
Yeah, there was no discussion.
Yeah, and
At
so
all.
then she leaves in a huff, and he's like, "Oh, whatever. At least the other girl's still there."
No, the other girl got the fuck out too. Actually,
Did she get the fuck out too?
she starts unbuttoning the blouse, and then Lily's like, "What the fuck is this shit?" And then that's when the other girl's like, "Oh, he didn't talk to her about it." She buttons her shirt back up and leaves.
Oh, good. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was great.
And then like the maze, I guess, like changes partially. So anyway,
We see walls shifting. Yeah,
Yeah.
my anxiety was rising. That's a maze that changes is scary shit.
Oh yeah, Alien versus Predator must be nightmare for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty scary.
Anyways, I thought this was actually probably the coolest part of the movie in terms of like
Visuals.
visuals and stuff. I'm like, oh, like getting trapped in this like weird like postmodernist art exhibit that like is changing, and like there's like all kinds of stuff going on the screen. It's like sensory overload, and like you're getting lost in this like maze of televisions, and like there's just music and people talking and just noise saturating the whole thing. I'm like, this is cool. I've never seen this in a slasher movie before, or like a, you know, outside of like some like weird avant-garde like art house horror,
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
Like I've never seen anything like that
Yeah.
in like a mainstream slasher movie, let alone some like psychedelic mindfuck movie.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, and then like the killer shows up with a bow and arrow and just
Yeah, she's like lost and getting turned around, like the tension's rising, and then just like
yeah.
arrowed.
Yeah, she gets arrowed 3 times in the gut, and then like falls through a projector screen, through an exit door, and then like over a railing, and lands directly in a dumpster.
And the lid closes.
And the lid closes, and I was just thinking like, who puts a dumpster right in the middle of a staircase like that?
Yeah, it looked like the fire escape that's in the middle of a building or something.
Yeah, it's
That,
like
I
it's
guess
like
everyone can just chuck their garbage down the stairs instead of taking it out.
yeah, I guess it's
properly.
like, you know, like a spiral staircase, and like it's there in case there's a fire in this like building, right? You can't use the elevator, so you use the stairs, and they just put the stairs at the end of the building so it's out of the way, and it's just like a concrete staircase kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I guess.
And then it like wraps around so you can like look over the edge and like see all the way down, and there's just a dumpster right at the bottom of it.
That's convenient.
So yeah, I guess. And so then, you know, the detective wants to talk to all the ladies, and he's like, he's at one of their apartment, and they're like, wasn't there one more of you? And
At which point I was like, great detective work.
he's
Wasn't there one more person that I talked to last time?
yeah. And Denise Richards was like, oh, she's out of town.
Which was very confusing. I don't remember them ever saying that she had plans to leave immediately after. Like,
No.
They all went to that gallery together and apparently left without her because she was dead in a dumpster and didn't notice.
Yeah. I mean,
Didn't
in their
care,
defense,
no one talked to her.
No, in their defense, I think they assumed she was going to fuck the artist guy.
Right, okay, yeah, I guess. But then just be like, she's out of town. And I was like, are they like lying or something?
Because it comes across like she's lying.
Yeah, like she's
but it's
covering
unclear.
for her friend.
Yeah.
But for what purpose?
Yeah.
For what porpoise? And, yeah. But no.
And then we get introduced to Angel.
That's right.
Well, Adam is played by David Boreanaz, who's Kate's on again, off again, currently off again, but trying to get back on again boyfriend who is a recovering alcoholic.
Yeah. Complicated relationship
dynamic,
That's
but
interesting.
he's like, I've been sober for like 3 weeks now.
He has a very interesting face.
It's
an interesting face to look at.
Yeah, well, I think, like I said, he when we were watching it, like he's too handsome for TV, but not quite handsome enough for movies.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, one important note that I forgot to, at the dance at the beginning when this dork boy gets thrown under the bus by this girl, he starts to like get really stressed out and his nose bleeds.
Yeah.
And when we see the killer after he's slit Shelley's throat in that first kill, some nose blood comes out of the nose of the mask.
Yeah, and same with the bow and arrow kill.
Yeah.
Nose is bleeding. So we're like, oh, okay, it's that kid.
Yeah. So we know it's that kid, but we don't know who that kid has grown up to be.
Yeah, and it could be anybody.
And there's a few sketchy dudes.
Yeah.
In this.
Couple of sketchy dudes for sure. Movie. Marley Shelton's character, Kate, has a creepy guy that lives in her building.
Yep.
That's always like harassing her by the elevator.
And apparently every time she's doing laundry,
yeah, he shows up.
He's there.
We find out it's because he's likes to steal her panties and like thigh highs and put them on and wear them.
Yep.
He's like a panty sniffer, so that's fun.
Yep, he gets caught doing that, but by the killer who's in her apartment.
Yeah, bludgeons him to death with an iron.
Yeah.
With a hot iron.
Yep.
Which like shouldn't leave your iron on like that.
No,
man. It's a bad idea.
We see her in a scene like, she's in the shower and she hears a noise.
Yeah.
Right, and she gets out of the shower, and as she's getting out of the shower, she or like at some point in that scene, the iron starts to whistle, and she's like, oh shoot, like she goes and unplugs it. So
yeah,
it's established that she's prone to leaving it on.
I guess so.
Like loosely established.
Yeah.
And then we see it again later, and yeah, the killer comes in, and it's just on, and it's hot.
Yeah, it's like steaming ferociously.
Yeah, which is, geez, like lower the temperature setting of your iron. Seriously.
So, he's, I guess it's established that she has this very, very bad habit of doing that. Don't do that. It's not safe. You're going to burn your house down. Mm-hmm. Or kill somebody like this guy does with it. Yeah, and then so like that they kind of figure it out at some point because one of the girls gets a Valentine that is like chocolates full of maggots.
Yeah, and the Valentine is something like you are what you eat.
Yeah. And signed JM, and then they're sitting there going through all the like JMs it could be, and they're like, oh, it could be this kid. Remember, they're like, oh yeah, we were so mean to him. Memories.
Yeah, basically. It's a really weird scene.
Yeah, and I think they're kind of playing it off as like, we were kids and we were mean, and that's just like, that's what happens. We were kids and we were mean, and that, we're grown-ups now and we're not mean like that anymore, except Denise Richards kind of is.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, she gets real good revenge on that one guy from speed dating. That was funny.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So I mean, like throughout the movie, there's Adam who's dating Kate and played by David Boreanaz, and he's like, he's like recovering alcoholic, and they're trying to get back together. Then there's Dorothy has a boyfriend that she's been seeing for a month, and he shows up and he's sunk all his money into this internet business, and
he's in serious financial trouble.
Yeah, because his roommate
didn't pay rent,
and all his stuff was thrown out on the street, and he doesn't have anywhere to go, and he doesn't have any money, and so Dorothy's like, hey, housekeeper lady, why don't you make up the guest house or the guest room for him? And he's like, oh, thank you so much. And then it's like, okay, so he's maybe a suspect.
Yeah, and then like a woman shows up later to be like, hey, where is this asshole? Or she sees this woman talking to him, and she's like, you owe me a lot of money.
Yeah.
And is apparently like, this fucker is a con artist. Don't believe him.
Yeah.
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 Which of course is ignored.
Yeah. And when they're all getting talked to by the police, they're going like, hey, do you have a boyfriend? Like, what's his name? And she's like, oh yeah. I was like, do you know his last name? How long have you known him for? And she's like, oh, I don't know his last name. I've only known him for a month. And she's like, oh, and you're letting him live in your house? And she's going like, well, you've let guys whose last names you don't know into your pants, Paige, so I don't know why you're harassing me about this. And, and then they're trying to, like, what about Adam? Like, how well do you know? She's like, oh, I've known him for a long time. And, like, I guess they've known each other for about 3 or 4 years at this point.
Yeah,
like
it seems like it. They have a lot of history.
Somewhat of a long-term relationship, right? So
Mm-hmm.
she's like, no, like, I've known him for a long time. It couldn't be him. And so then the cop is like, all right, ladies, you can all clear out. Actually, Paige, you stay.
Yeah.
And proceeds to hit on her.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, like, Paige, and she's kind of like, stereotypically, like, played off as the hot one.
Yeah.
Of the group. And people hit on her all the time, and her friends slut shame her throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
And, like, every guy in the movie that makes advances on her, she shuts down.
Yeah. She doesn't hook up with anybody.
Yeah.
She invites a guy that they met at speed dating at the beginning of the movie to this party at the end of the movie. It's like a Valentine's Day party at Dorothy's house. And he shows up and they, start dancing and grinding on each other and they make out a little bit. And he's like, I'd like to take you upstairs. I want to show you something.
They dance for like 5 seconds.
They dance for like 5 seconds.
He's not there to dance.
He's not there to dance, no. And she's like, all right.
She says, I like surprises. And she's like, okay, so like,
And so he goes upstairs. They go upstairs and she's like, so what's the surprise? And he's like, sit down. She sits on the bed and he unzips his pants and he drops them.
And there is the distinct, it's not very loud, but there's the distinct sound of skin slapping skin. Like there was a Foley artist who made the sound of a big dick slapping down on a thigh.
It is well implied that he has a magnum dong.
Yeah. And that was his surprise.
And she's like, oh, you brought me up here to show me your penis. Wow.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, come on, baby. Wax it.
Yeah, like what are you waiting for?
Yeah. And she's like, all right, take off your clothes, and like gets him to like.
Well, first she goes to like storm out because she's like, fuck this, and he's just like, oh, it's so cringy, but he's like, whoa, baby, just relax.
Yeah, it's gonna be all right.
It's gonna be all right. Like, ugh,
and she's like,
I hate it.
Okay, and I'm like, well, it's that easy. Jeez.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned at that point, like, oh, she's been slut shamed throughout the whole movie and is like showed herself to not be a slut. Is she just gonna sleep with this guy now?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, maybe her friends are, calling her out for a reason.
Yeah, I guess that was justified at some point. Or well, I mean, still not.
It's not justified,
no,
but like at least there's evidence to back it up.
Yeah. But then she gets him to take off all of his clothes, gets him to lie down on the bed, and she pulls silk scarves out of somewhere. I don't remember.
It was like a bedside table. She like ties his arms and legs to the bed with the scarves and like puts a blindfold on him. Mm-hmm. She like climbs on top of him and she's like, hey baby, you still want me to wax it? And he's like, yeah. And then she grabs a candle. And
it's so good too because of the shot. You see like both of their heads while she's on top of him. And that's what's in focus. But in the foreground, out of focus in the shot, are the candles along the headboard. Yeah. And then she just says, you still want me to wax it? And he's like, oh, yeah. And then she just kind of like slowly looks up and the focus shifts on this like 3-wick candle. And I'm just like, oh, yeah.
Like, oh, no.
Oh, no.
Definitely like you cross your legs at that moment where you're like, oh.
Oh, but it just felt so justified. I loved it.
Dumps hot wax on his dick and then leaves.
Yep.
Which is awesome.
It was a good scene.
It was a really good scene.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm going to go put on my bathing suit and get in the hot tub by myself.
With some champagne. She said, I'm going to go chill.
Yeah.
She needed to go chill out. That's legit.
Take some me time, girl.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So, yeah. Are there any other kill scenes we missed out before we get to the party? I don't think so.
No, friend number 1 died, and then the other one got arrowed. Oh,
Campbell, which is Dorothy's boyfriend
of 1 month.
of 1 month.
Who's apparently a scam artist, according to this woman who keeps harassing them.
Yeah, so he gets told to go down to the basement and relight the pilot light because it went out, and they have no more hot water in the main house. And he's like, well, I guess I'm just part of the staff at this point. And I'm like, dude, you're living here for free. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, we see him with some scenes where he's not around.
Yeah.
What's her face? And he's, shown to be a total jackass.
And it's also maybe implied that he's impotent.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Well, she
just
gives
the one
she
time.
gives him a watch for Valentine's Day, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't know we were doing gifts. Oh, okay, sorry." And she's like, "That's okay."
And then they start kissing.
And they start kissing, and then it cuts to them lying naked next to each other in bed, not in like a heavy breathing, covered in sweat. Like that was amazing. Where they're just kind of lying next to each other awkwardly, and he's like, yeah, sorry about that." And she's like, "It happens.
It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. It happens." And then she gets up to go shower.
And she's definitely seems disappointed, and he definitely seems embarrassed.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay, he couldn't perform.
Mm.
So that sucks for him, I guess. Because that's the last time he sees a girl naked, because he gets told to go down and relight the pilot light, and ends up copping an axe in the back. He bends down in one shot, and you see an axe in the background stuck in a piece of wood for some reason in the basement. Not clear.
Yeah, in the boiler room where you chop wood
to boil.
Yeah.
So that you get all those nice cedar oils in your water while you're showering. It's really good for your skin and hair.
And then you drink it.
And you drink it and die.
Yeah.
Man, if I did that, I would die of anaphylactic shock.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
I'm allergic to cedar.
I know.
Yeah. Which is annoying because it smells so fucking good.
It smells amazing.
And I would just love to have a cedar oil diffuser in my house all the time so it smells like a forest, but I would just be itchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So awful.
Sucks. I still have to settle for pine like an idiot. So anyways, he bends down to light the thing. You see the axe in the background. He lights it. He stands back up. The axe is missing. And then what happens to the axe? It ends up in his spine. Yeah.
Which ultimately, that was a pretty well set up scene, but then, and then he dies, and then I was like, okay.
Yeah, and he was sort of set up to be like, oh, maybe this guy's cause she's like, you want to shower with me? He's like, ooh, I don't know, I kind of want to get a workout in before I got to do this meeting, But
yeah, so they just tried to have sex and it didn't go well. She invites him to shower with her, and he's like, no, instead of having sex, I'm going to go exercise.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know. it just I think he's just being a dick.
Yeah, I
honestly.
think so.
And I mean, I'm not saying you have to try right away again if you have troubles in bed, but this
also,
character
I don't even know if she was wanting to have sex with him. She might have just been wanting to let's take a shower together.
Yeah, maybe.
And touch each other naked. That's fun.
It is.
And maybe that will spark something.
Yeah.
Because also the reason she gave him the watch is she was complaining about
the police have been questioning him because of her dead friend, and she
feels bad, and then her friends are like, well, make it up to him, and she's like, well, how? And they're like, use your imagination, and the implication is blow him.
Yeah it's exactly what her friends meant.
Yeah, which would have been cheaper than the watch probably, but
but I think it's lovely that she interpreted that as get him a nice watch
because I'm rich. Spend daddy's money on the watch. But
there you go.
Yeah, so then it's basically just cuts to her Valentine's Day party. She's sad because he blew her off.
Yeah, he hasn't shown up.
And it's 11:30.
Yeah.
And she's like, I know when I'm getting dumped, guys. And everyone's there, and that woman shows up that was really mad about
Campbell.
Campbell, thank you.
Yeah.
Soupy McDickbag.
That was his last name.
It was Soup.
Soupy McDickbag.
Yeah.
An unfortunate surname.
So she's all mad about Soupy McDickbag, and she's like, where is that son of a bitch? I want my money. Bitch better have my money.
She's like, he loves me. And she's like, he loves your trust fund.
Yeah. Which is accurate.
Yeah, it turns out she was totally right.
Yeah.
She's still a huge asshole about it.
Yeah.
And crashed her party and was kicked out and then snuck back in and snuck into her room and ironically stole the watch
Yeah.
that she gave to him.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter because she goes into like the billiard room or something at one point and happens to stumble upon the killer dragging the corpse of the housekeeper around.
Yeah.
And
which,
she's like, oh.
why'd you have to go and kill the housekeeper? It seemed a little needless. It was off screen.
Yeah.
Like, why did you... You didn't have to.
Didn't have to. Could have
No.
just ignored her like they did throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah, like, good... glad the actor got more screen time, but I wish that it would have not been dead.
Yeah.
But here we are. And... Yeah, and so then, you know... What's great about the beginning of that scene is she doesn't just panic and run. Like,
Yeah.
The killer comes up to her and she grabs a fucking cue.
Pool cue. Yeah.
Pool cue. And cracks him over the head
Yeah.
real quick. And,
Oh, yeah.
like, drops him.
Drops him.
And then runs away.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would have reacted in that situation. But I feel like maybe a few more hits
Yeah.
would have been, like, a good way to go. But anyway, she runs away.
I mean, they teach you when you learn about like active shooter drills and stuff like that, which I had to take part in as part of a play that I was working on recently. They had to like cover what happens if like a shooter comes into the building.
Holy shit.
I know. We're in Canada.
I mean, like, yeah, I mean,
Anyways,
that shit can still happen here, but
I guess, yeah.
that's not a normal drill.
No, it's the first time it's
for
ever
us.
happened to me.
Yeah.
But it's hide, fight, and then run. So she couldn't hide, so she fought, and then she ran, and then she hid. But she should have just kept running.
Yes, definitely should have kept running instead of cornering herself in the sauna.
Straight into the ocean. Just keep running. No,
Don't
but
stop
like,
till you reach the next continent.
Don't stop until Cuba. Wrong side of the country. They're in California.
Whoops.
Don't stop till you get to Hawaii.
There we go.
But yeah, like actually, she should have just kept running and swam to Alcatraz. But anyways, she doesn't. She goes to hide and ends up. This is maybe the gnarliest kill in the movie.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. She gets like thrown through like a glass display case or something.
It was like a shower door.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, there was a shower there, but I thought she was in a hallway. So
I thought she was in a hallway too.
it was very confusing, but it was all tiled and stuff.
Maybe it was a display case showing off the family's prized shower.
That's exactly what it was. We're gonna go with that. So she gets thrown into into the shower display case.
Yeah, and there's like a very, very pointy piece of glass just sticking up at the bottom, and you're like, I know where this is going.
Oh yeah.
And she gets her throat/head shoved through that, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah, there's just enough struggle to build the tension, and then it's like it's not too fast.
Yeah.
Where it's just like.
And this is, I think, the problem I have
Gross.
with these like slasher movies from the 90s and early 2000s is they're all very like sanitized. You know, like there's not a lot of like
Of like gore?
gore. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there wasn't a lot of gore in this movie.
And I mean, there's like a little bit of nudity on the screens in the art installation, but there's no, like, you know, nobody gets their titties out in this movie. There's no nudity.
No.
I think it's only rated like PG-13. There's not a lot of swearing.
You can get away with a lot of murder for PG-13, hey?
Yeah, but there's no blood. That's the thing, right? Like, as long as there's no blood, I think you can kind of get away with as much violence, quote unquote, as you want.
That's dumb. I think that's dumb.
It is kind of dumb. I mean, they show the aftermath of it later. Like, you stumble upon her body.
Yeah.
And there's just like a huge puddle of blood, but you don't
Ooh,
actually
yeah.
see the wound get inflicted. So,
Sure.
and yeah, I think that's another thing that's like kind of like it's like a token of this era of slasher movies that they're all very like clean.
So you're saying
shiny.
you would want to see more gore and more nudity?
Yeah, like in the 80s, it's like, you know, when she gets out of bed, you'd see, you know, to go take a shower, you'd see that, and you'd see her in the shower fully naked kind of thing. Which, like, maybe you don't need it. I could do without the nudity, to, you know, but like in the 80s, it would have been there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, in the 80s, it would have gone to, like, you would have seen her head going towards it, and then it would have cut to a close-up of, like, a Tom Savini nicely made prosthetic head. And the glass, you would have seen the glass go in, the blood come out, and then it would have cut away. Because, I mean, like, also, like, you know, they shot way more gore than they needed to because they knew the ratings board was going to cut them back.
Yeah.
If you look at like the later Friday the 13th movies, there's like no blood in those movies.
Right.
Like 7 and 8, like they're also so sanitized because they just got hacked to shit by the ratings board.
Sounds about right.
It's like every time the blade's just about to go in and then it cuts.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So gnarliest kill of this movie, but like ultimately wasn't that gnarly.
Wasn't that gnarly. Like nobody's closing their eyes and looking away because it just cuts away.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like it when it cuts away just after. Like you have that flash in your brain of like the glass going through the throat and up the top of the head, and it cuts away immediately after, so it leaves part of it up to your.
Yeah,
That's the kind of cut that I like.
For sure. And I mean that's what I mean, right? Like you would see that prosthetic head. It would cut to a close up of the prosthetic head.
Yeah.
You'd see the glass go into the chin, and then it would probably cut away.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Then Denise Richards is in the hot tub with champagne, and she hears a noise. And kind of going like, hey, who the fuck is, who's fucking around here? Trying to have me time, bitch. And she gets out and looks around. There's no one there. She gets back in, and then there's a rose sitting next to the champagne bottle.
Ooh, a rose.
It wasn't there before. And then, yeah, she gets attacked by the killer who, like, slams the hot tub lid down on her and, like, closes it.
Yeah,
but it's like
locks it in place.
glass see-through, or plastic see-through. Once you can see her, and she's got like about 2 inches maybe of air to breathe, and then he comes at her with a drill, and he's just like drilling in, and she's dodging, and she's trying to get away, and
he's trying to use the holes to breathe. And he's got this like thing that's probably like 13-14 inches long. This drill bit. It's a real long drill bit.
Real fucking long.
Why do you need it that long? What are you drilling? What is it? I mean, like I don't know. I don't use drills very often.
Could be like for concrete. I don't know. Anyways, big long drill. I mean, nowhere near the biggest drill we've seen on screen ever.
Sure.
Watch Body Double. That's got a big fucking drill in it. That goes through an entire floor.
That's long.
Yeah.
Wow. We've been dwelling on the drill too long, haven't we?
A little bit. Yeah.
So he's drilling through the lid of this thing.
Yeah.
Finally tags her in the arm.
Yeah.
And then blood starts to fill the pool.
Yeah.
And then it just shows him unlocking the lid, and it's like, okay, I guess he just wanted to draw blood first.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
And then he opens the lid and throws the drill in.
Yeah, and it's a drill that like takes a power cord.
Yeah.
It's not a battery powered one, right? So he's got an extension cord going to this drill, and he just turns it on and chucks it into the hot tub. And
then shuts the lid again.
And there's like fucking lightning going off in the...
It's intense.
It's a little cheesy because the pool's turning red because of the blood, and just like through the red water you could just see like lightning sparks going on. It's kind of dumb.
It's a little silly. Yeah.
It's a little silly, but whatever. And that shuts off the
Oh, yeah.
Power to the whole house.
The whole house loses power.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to pretend to be an electrician or anything. But I would assume that would just make one of the breakers blow.
You'd think.
But again, I don't know. Anyway, whole house loses power and party's over. People start to leave because there's no power.
Yeah. And then that leaves just Kate and Adam and Dorothy in the house. And Adam had been seen at one point drinking some champagne.
Yep, he was tipsy.
Yeah, and Kate was obviously not excited about this. She was rightfully kind of upset by it.
Yeah, because he's a recovering alcoholic, and she had admitted at one point, when you drink, you get mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, Dorothy says something to her about, like, well, what did she say? The cops said that they couldn't clear Campbell, or there wasn't enough evidence to...
Oh, yeah, they caught the guy. They caught JM. One of the JMs.
Oh, the Jason guy from the beginning.
Yeah.
They caught him and said there wasn't enough evidence to...
Yeah, so the cops called her to let her know that there wasn't enough evidence to keep them. And so, like, he could be with you right now. He could be at your party.
Yeah.
And then,
and then I think they fight about, like, oh, it could be Campbell, you've only known him for a month, blah, 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 whatever. And she's like, well, how come the fat girl can't have one for once? You guys all have your sexy boyfriends. Like, I just want to have a nice hot boyfriend. And then what about Adam? It could be Adam. And then they like have a big fight and she storms off. And then Adam shows up and he's kind of drunk and acting weird.
Well, actually, no, like they have that fight and she storms out of the house and then goes to call Adam.
Well, Kate. Dorothy goes upstairs. Kate, storms out, goes to call Adam. Calls the cop.
She calls the cop because the cop was on his way to the party.
Yeah. And then she hears the cell phone ringing, and goes down to like the pond in the backyard and finds the cop's head, which is like the worst prosthetic.
Just really comically kind of floats up to the top of the water all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's like right next to his cell phone, and then sees the IOU
that she wrote. She said
IOU TLC.
Yeah.
And gave it to Adam and sees that floating in the pond. And she's like, oh my God, it's Adam. And then she goes back into the house to get Dorothy, I guess, right?
Yeah, she goes in calling for Dorothy and Adam's there.
And Adam shows up and he's acting kind of strange because he's drunk.
He's a little intense.
And,
and he asks her to dance.
Yeah. Anyways, she ends up clocking him with the champagne bottle and
kneeing him in the balls, and like runs upstairs to her dad or to Dorothy's dad's study where she said earlier, "Oh, my dad's got a gun in his study," and she's like, "That's a great way for us to both get killed." Anyway, she gets the gun and she barely knows how to load it or anything like that, but she's going around and then she gets attacked by the killer. Yeah, the killer's there with like the whole outfit and the mask. Like the killer kind of like lunges at her, but then they both fall down the stairs.
Yeah.
And they tumble, and then like the killer's not moving, and she starts to get up, but then the killer sits up very suddenly, and she starts to scream, and then bam, bam, bam. There's several gunshots.
Oh yeah, she gets shot like the killer gets shot like 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
And it's Adam. He's got the gun.
Adam's got the gun that she dropped while she fell down the stairs. And very slowly and dramatically goes and reveals the killer, Dorothy.
And it's like, oh, didn't see that one coming.
That's a crazy twist.
Yeah, like that's a crazy twist. And then,
she was the killer the whole time, and like they had just had that fight, so it's like the movie, is supposed to be all about this childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And so like her childhood trauma was being like feeling like she was very fat in school and being unpopular and being kind of like, the outcast, the pity friend.
Yeah.
And,
okay. Yeah. The pity friend. That's
over,
a good way to
over
put it.
13 years, that I guess turned her into a murderer. So that's a crazy twist. Didn't see coming. I think you called it just before it happened.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Dorothy's gonna be in the mask, and then it was, and then. And then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, there's a little denouement happening where he's on the phone with the police and he's like, okay, thank you. Yeah. Like, you just get here as soon as you can. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's like, they're on their way. And I'm kind of sitting there, I'm going like, that's weird though.
It does feel weird.
I'm like, that's not like good motivation. Like, and I'm like, there's just something off. And then he's like,
and then he's holding her.
Yeah. She's like, I'm so sorry, Adam. And he's like, it's okay, Dorothy. I love you. I always have. And I'm like, wait a second. And then you see just a little bit of blood drip onto her cheek. And it pans up and he's got a nosebleed. And you're like,
oh, fuck.
Yeah. So that's...
So he got away with it.
He got away with it.
He set up Dorothy as the killer.
Yeah.
And probably like... Maybe she was already wounded or something. And like pushed her in the killer's outfit. Probably out of that room onto Kate, and then shot her full of holes.
Yeah.
And got away with it.
She must have been like clocked in the head or something and was like dazed or something because she doesn't say anything.
Like, that's super devious. Like, at first I was like, whoa, twist, it's Dorothy, but then double twist, it was this guy the whole time, and he wins.
Mm.
He gets the girl that he wants. Well, I guess, I don't know, he might have been happy with any of them. I don't really know. But he gets the girl that he wants.
I feel like he wanted Kate.
I guess, yeah, he's the one he's been dating on and off.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it was about him,
but also, like, if you got the girl you want, why murder everybody?
Well, he's a little unstable.
I guess so. Trauma.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's the movie.
That's the movie. It's pretty whack.
It is kind of whack.
And, like, some of it is laughably bad. But then
Yes.
some of it was like, all right. No, yeah, okay. You know?
What do you think it got on Rotten Tomatoes?
Rotten Tomatoes. Did it get... did it get like a... I'm going to guess 39.
Oh, you're way off.
Oh, shit. It's a lot lower?
It's a lot
A
lower.
lot lower?
Yeah.
How much? It was like 21? Or
12.
12? That's terrible!
I don't think this is a 12% movie at all.
No, I don't
At all.
Again, not great.
No.
Sure. But boy, have we seen worse pieces of crap.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm going to say craptacular.
It's craptacular.
Yeah? Craptacular?
I think I would have a really good time chucking this on with friends and watching it, like around Valentine's Day, you know? It's like have a couple friends over. We can eat cinnamon hearts and watch this fucking goofy ass.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, it was not a good enough movie to give a Breakfast Club
Yeah.
fist bump. But it was not bad enough to be one big pile of shit.
No.
It's like a low craptacular for me, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna join you in the craptacular category.
I like there's never like once when we were watching it where I was like, oh fuck, I just want to shut this off, or like, oh my god, this is so fucking stupid, or like, you know, like there was things that we laughed at and like we had I think a good time watching it and cracking jokes, and I'm like, that to me is what constitutes a craptacular movie.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. So I think like if someone was like, hey, should we all watch Valentine tonight? I would be like, yeah, hell yeah. Let's get some, you know, have some drinks. We'll play a little Valentine drinking game or something, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Make some quips at it. Yeah, I thought it was all right.
Well, we found another one.
We found another craptacular one. Took us fucking long enough. What was the last one?
Jeez. What was the last one? I forget. My list is incomplete.
It wasn't elves, that's for sure.
Nope. Holy shit.
It might have been Arena.
That sounds about right.
Was Arena craptacular? I don't know.
I think so. I think it was fun.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll come back to it. We will be having a retrocrapular retrospective.
Oh god, yeah, we gotta do that.
Because this was
This is our 60th episode.
our 60th episode. We've been at it now
Yeah.
for the years that amount to 60 divided by 12.
Yeah. 6 years? Something like that? 5 years?
5. Yes, it's 5. It's
Yeah.
definitely not 6. 5 years.
We started in March of 2017.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And I think technically we missed 1 month. One time.
There was 1 month that we didn't see a movie, and then there was 1 month that we did 2. So,
Yeah.
or you're saying there's 1 episode? There was 1 month that we didn't even release an episode.
Yeah, there was 1 month where we released the episode of Action that I was on, where we talked about Predator.
Oh, right.
We
okay,
released it
okay.
because we just didn't have time to record one.
Yeah.
But
But anyway, yeah, 5-year anniversary, and we're gonna do a Patreon exclusive retrospective on all of the rankings that we've had so far. Take a look at all the movies that we've thought are craptacular, and in that retrospective, think if we want to change any of the ratings that we might have given movies.
yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be on Patreon. Patreon exclusive. Next month. Is that really what we're doing?
What are we doing?
Oh God.
Oh no.
Oh,
If you're already in this much pain, there's time to change it.
we might have to change it.
What's on the docket?
I wrote Electra.
We've talked about doing that for a couple of years now, and we
I
just
know.
keep
I
putting it
I
off.
bought it like a year ago at least, maybe more.
Electra.
And I remember texting you from like a Value Village, being like, "Yo, should I get this for the podcast?" And you were like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Like, yeah, it's gonna be so bad.
And then I just like, ugh. Oh, I don't want to do it.
Maybe it's gonna be one of those ones we should watch the movie like early in the month, just in case we need to bail.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's do that. Come over beginning of March, and we'll watch it. And then if we want to just not record an episode, we won't.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds fair.
Okay.
That sounds fair. Ugh. I'm upset. All right, and if that doesn't happen, we got a backup. We'll watch. I've got like just a list of like random movies that like that could be fun to watch one day.
Make a list of 20. We'll roll a die and we'll see what happens.
Honestly, I probably could make a list of 20 at this point. Should we do a random one day?
Yeah, let's do that. I love it.
That could be fun.
Let's start recording and then roll the die and then stop recording to go watch it.
And then come back?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I like that.
Okay,
Let's do
sure. I don't know if we'll do that next month, but well, maybe.
If Electra is too painful, we'll do that instead.
Yeah, I do have a couple on here that I'm like, we could swap these out.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, if Electra's too painful, we'll pick something else. But
yep. How you feeling?
Like I'm sad now. Now that I know I have to watch, because I remember like I watched Electra back when it came out, and I don't remember how old I would have been at the time, but like
Pretty young.
It's like 2006, so I've been like 13, maybe 12, 13. Would have been like around the time that, like, no, 2006 seems too. When did that actually come out? Daredevil was 2003.
You were young enough to think that Daredevil movie was still good.
I liked the Daredevil movie.
I liked it when it came out too. It's garbage.
I haven't seen it in a long time. It's 2005. So 11, 12, 13. I was 13.
I watched a very interesting video essay comparing the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie to the Daredevil Netflix series.
Interesting.
And it was like, wow, these are incredibly different, and wow, that movie made no sense.
Yeah. So yeah, Electra, 2005. So I remember watching it at the time and being like, wow, this is bad. And so like for a 13-year-old to watch a movie and be like, oh, this is actively bad, I think that must mean it's like pretty shit. Also, it's the last theatrically released film that director directed.
Uh-oh.
And it came out like a couple years after he directed one of my all-time favorite movies of all time, Reign of Fire.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've talked about Reign of Fire a few times.
I fucking love Reign of Fire. Go listen to Let's Watch That.
Right, yeah.
I did an episode, I guested on that podcast, and I talked about Reign of Fire, and I'm just spreading the gospel, man. I'm just like, y'all need to come to the temple that is Reign of Fire. Come to the fountain of fire, and drink in the goodness that is Matthew McConaughey with a shaved head and a beard jumping off a tower with an axe to try and kill a dragon.
There we go. That's a hard sell.
It's nothing better. It's nothing better. It's so good. It's unnecessarily good and also unnecessarily forgotten. I think it's so awesome. Anyways, I'm pumped again. I might watch Reign of Fire tonight.
All right, there you go.
I'm fucking jacked. So this has been the Retro Craptacular for this week, for this month. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone who celebrates. And we'll be back next month with Electra or a different thing.
Yeah, we'll see.
And and until next time, if you want to support the show, we talked about it. We have a Patreon. You go to linktr.ee/retrocrappod. You can find all the links to everything about the podcast related to the podcast. All of our socials are there. Our Patreon is there. You can subscribe to the show. Leave a review on iTunes or whatever pod catcher you listen to your pods on. It helps us out with the show. And you can just, leave a nice review. Tell a friend. Tell your mom.
Definitely tell your mom.
Definitely tell your mom.
That should be the first thing you do, really.
She wants to hear what we have to say about Electra next month. And until next time, thank you for joining us. And as always, keep watching crap.